Hi, my name is Thais Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and this is a really important topic for today. And it's these types of people tend to attract narcissistic relationships. Now, I want to start with a disclaimer and just clearly state that this is not me in any way like victim blaming or saying that if you do these things, it's your fault, you were with a narcissist or in a narcissistic relationship. Absolutely not. In fact, if you have some of these six core patterns that I'll talk about here with you today, usually it's actually a signpost of previous trauma that you didn't have the opportunity to deal with or heal through. And so one, two, maybe four out of these six, multiple of these patterns at a subconscious level stopped your sort of alarm bells from going off when you did find yourself in a narcissistic relationship. And the reason I really wanted to highlight these six core things here today is that this gives you really specific things that you can dig into. And if you are healing from a narcissistic relationship or you are wanting to heal and not ever have to be in a situation where you end up back in a relationship with a narcissistic person again, these are your six antidotes, we could say. It's like if you really develop these six key things, it's like immunity to being back in a narcissistic relationship. So I really want to highlight these six core things. You may find that you have all six of these things to some degree, which is very, very common. You may find that you have a few of these very strongly, but I have yet to meet somebody who is leaving or has left a narcissistic relationship or even come to me while in a narcissistic relationship and didn't have at least a couple of these things quite prominently. So again, these are usually from past trauma, and they're so important to be able to isolate and deal with. And if you want to do a deep dive, by the way, as I go into these six things, into overcoming narcissistic abuse, healing, really working through like complex grieving, breaking that attachment and addictive type of relationship with a narcissist, and being able to set your mind to rest. I have a very in-depth course about this called Overcoming Narcissistic Abuse, and you can check it out for free for 7 days using the link below. So with all of that being said, the very first pattern I see that's so prominent in these types of relationships is that the person who ends up being in a relationship with a narcissist, one of the most common things is that they are overly empathetic at the expense of being able to empathize with themselves and see themselves in the relationship. And so, what I see quite commonly is that because you are somebody who tends to be so empathetic towards other people, it's like you can see through that surface exterior of the narcissist. It seems like, sometimes superficial or just so grandiose. They're always seeking attention, and sort of behind that, you notice that person's pain, their deeper insecurity. You really see like into that. But the problem is that you are so good at seeing somebody else, so good at being focused at what that person is experiencing at a deeper level and having this beautiful gift and ability to do so. But the problem is that it can become a double-edged sword. And the way it does is that you accidentally and subconsciously weaponize that empathy against yourself, where you forget to empathize with your own feelings in the situation. You forget to see how you're feeling in the relationship when this person is treating you unfairly, is manipulating, gaslighting, exploiting, being advantageous. You always sort of see like the sponsoring intention behind the actions. And, oh, it's because they're wounded. It's because they're in pain. It's because they're this. And that may be true, but it is not an excuse to never take yourself into consideration and how you're being affected, and learn that you have to set boundaries and allow that person to do their own healing, should they choose to do so. So that is one really important first pattern to pay attention to. The second pattern here that's quite common is this person who tends to attract narcissistic relationships is often boundaryless. Usually at some point in childhood, they had some kind of exposure to something, or perhaps a past relationship in your adult life where you sort of had to forego your boundaries to stay safe, to avoid conflict, to gain acceptance, whatever it might have been. And so you kind of learn to disown your boundaries. And so now you're accidentally a match, right, to somebody who's looking to exploit boundaries, because that person sees, oh, you're boundaryless. That's perfect. That's what I'm looking for. And your subconscious mind says, oh, this is familiar to me. And it associates familiarity familiarity with survival. So it feels comfortable in the direction of somebody who exploits boundaries. And so while there's this part of it that will hurt and feel uncomfortable, this is other safety oriented part that's been conditioned to think that this is okay. And again, this is what I mean by these dynamics of the alarm bells not going off, right? It's like if this is a subconscious comfort zone for somebody who's like completely securely attached and has good boundaries and a strong sense of self-identity, if somebody comes in and tries to exploit, there's no room for it, right? But if you've already been through the trauma of having to forego boundaries already, and that's been conditioned into you as a pattern, you're not going to pick up on it as early or as easily should somebody come along who's trying to do those things. Point number 3 is negative internal dialogue or extreme self-criticism. So this is another really common pattern, right? And it relates back to this alarm bell idea. We know narcissists tend to be extremely critical, put people down, use, insults and, criticism and unfair commentary as a strategy to create insecurity in the person they're in a relationship with, as their own subconscious strategy to avoid abandonment or to get their needs met and get their own way. And of course, again, a narcissist is just another really traumatized person, but also a narcissist is not really capable of a healthy relationship until they do inner work and gain insight. And even then, that's up for debate and question, right? Depending on sort of the person we're seeing and many things. So when we see this dynamic, what happens is the alarm bells don't go off of that one person, right? That the alarm bells are not going, oh, this person's treating you unfairly. They're putting you down. They're being demoralizing. They're doing all these things because it's a subconscious comfort zone of the person in that relationship, right? And so if you had a parent who was super critical, or you had a narcissistic parent or a verbally abusive parent, then that imprints your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind learns to rehash these patterns. It's familiar. So the subconscious mind that builds out the relationship to ourselves and how we think about ourselves, how we speak to ourselves in our internal dialogue. And then when somebody else comes along externally and talks to you the same way you speak to yourself, there aren't alarm bells. The conscious mind says, oh, I don't like how they talk to me. It's not right. But the subconscious mind continues to go back. And so it can really create this strong, sort of pain point there and challenge. Our next one is this person tends to prioritize themselves and their own needs last. Okay, again, it makes you a match to the narcissistic individual who will often come in and try to exploit and get narcissistic supply a lot. And so if you're constantly foregoing your own needs and your own feelings and your own sense of self and putting yours down the totem pole, then of course this person feels like, oh, you're here to give me what I need, and so we're a match for each other. And again, it feels comfortable, it feels familiar, even though the conscious mind may know better. Our next one is there tends to be a really strong dynamic of feeling like you are not worthy of love or connection. And so having overly strong of a bandwidth to put up with things that are not okay. And this can manifest in the form of really fearing abandonment as well, but basically having these strong attachment wounds from past experiences in childhood, where once you do attach to the narcissist, especially if they're meeting needs to make you feel seen and wanted and cared for in that love bombing stage, if you're strongly out of relationship to those needs within the relationship to yourself, again, because of history, because usually those needs were not met in childhood or in past experiences in a healthy form, then when somebody comes in and does give those to you, the subconscious mind latches on and essentially forms an addiction to this. We talk a lot about this in the narcissistic course you can check out for free below, but it essentially forms an addiction to this. And it's like you get so wrapped in this because the subconscious mind, you can imagine just all of this, you can the analogy would be your brain lights up, right? It's like, oh my gosh, nobody's made me feel seen like this before, or wanted or valued or protected, or these really strong unmet needs. And so if you have those needs really out of alignment and you're not able to meet them in the relationship to yourself, or have healthy habits and strategies to get them met from a variety of different healthy resources in your adult life, when the narcissist sort of swoops in and meets them, it forms this extremely strong attachment. And then the intermittent reinforcement of those needs after the love bombing stage ends creates a really strong addiction. And so it makes, again, it really difficult to get out of these relationships until we address that addictive component at the subconscious level through reprogramming. And then last but not least, another really important um, uh, like a really important pattern to be aware of that you may have if you are constantly attracting narcissistic relationships into your life is a lack of self-trust. And yet again, just another point here that has come from previous trauma that has probably diminished the relationship to yourself in terms of your ability to be consistent, congruent with self, to not doubt your own needs or gaslight yourself at a subconscious level, and to be able to really trust your own feelings and needs and boundaries. And if we're out of relationship to that basic self-trust that comes from those things I was just mentioning, then again, you are sort of this match to when somebody gaslights you, your alarm bell's not going off in the same way. And your conscious mind being like, this is really uncomfortable, but your subconscious mind going, but it's familiar, it's okay. So these 6 things are extremely important to reprogram, to change. They're extremely important to move through and heal, just to have any form of really healthy relationship long-term. And we address all of those major components, as well as healing from complex grief if you're getting out of a narcissistic relationship, or perhaps have just had somebody in your life who was a narcissist that had a profound impact on you in some way. And you can check out that course linked below. Again, you can check it out for free. It's about an hour and 45 minutes, maybe 2 hours long. So you can really move through a lot of it. But I want to be able to share that with you because it's such a powerful course. It really goes deep and helps you really see what was going on and how narcissism and a narcissistic relationship impacts the subconscious mind and nervous system. So I hope you enjoy. I hope this video is informative for you. Please subscribe to this channel if you're getting a good bit of value from this channel and the different things that I share. And thank you for watching and for being here. And let me know any questions you have in the comments below. And I will see you in tomorrow's video.